In Acumatica 2021 R1, there's an enhanced duplicate validation workflow that allows you to stop a record from being created with a warning if it's meeting some criteria. So let's take a look at this. You'll find this in the Customer Management Preferences screen on the Duplicate Validation Settings tab. Now I should note that if you want to see this tab, you have to make sure that you have this lead contact duplicate validation feature enabled on the Enable Disable feature screen. So back here, you'll see right now I'm just going to deal with contacts, and we have a lead and contact validation score threshold of a 5, and down here, here's my different score weights. So I have to add up to at least 5 if I'm going to trigger the hey, this is a duplicate feature. Now right now you'll see my score weight just has a 1 for email, so it's not going to, email itself is not going to trigger the contact to be flagged as a duplicate. So let's come over here to the contact screen and let's use Andy Appleton, and we'll just take Andy's email address and try to create a new contact. So I'll go ahead and just supply the bare minimum here, put in the email, and save the record. Now you'll see right now the way I have it set up is when I create the contact, it does not do anything in terms of duplicate validation. You'll see that right here, it says duplicate not validated. I have to manually go up here and check for duplicates. In this case, it passed the test. It did not get triggered as a duplicate, so it just says validated. It's okay. So let's delete this. And the reason it did that is because my score weight is not high enough. It's only using a score weight of 1 for email, so having the same email address on another contact is not enough for Acumatica to think that it's a duplicate. So let's manually change this score weight. Let's bring it up to a 5. So that will meet my threshold of a 5 up here. Now before I go create a new contact, you have to make sure you go to this Calculate Grams screen. And you have to process this for all the records, or at least for the records that you need it to apply to, but for me, I'm just going to do it for everything. When that's done processing, you should get this processing completed message, and all the records go away. You can see also, if I cancel, it doesn't bring up the records again unless I make a change to the score weights. So I know that I've processed everything. I can come back to the screen, refresh it, it's empty. I know I don't need to do any processing. Let's go back to the contact screen and refresh. And now let's try creating a new contact again. So we use the same information, the last name, the email, we'll save it. You'll see that it's still not doing the duplicate validation when I save it. I still have to manually come up here and check for duplicates. But now that I'm meeting the threshold, I get this warning. Hey, this is a possible duplicate. It didn't just go straight to validated. All right, let's delete that. And let's come back here, and now let's go ahead and check this box, validate leads and contacts for duplicates on entry. And let's save that. Let's go back here, calculate the grams. Oh, looks like I don't need to do that because I didn't change the scores, so we'll skip that. And let's refresh our contact screen and create the same contact again. So now you'll see what happened as soon as I click save. It did that duplicate validation. So I don't have to go up here manually now and check for duplicates. It automatically did the validation, and it flags it in this case as a possible duplicate. So all of that has actually been available before 2021 R1. Let's take a look at the actual new feature in 2021 R1. You'll see when I created that contact, it's great that it checked it when I saved it, but I would have rather been warned before it created it. Now I have to go delete the record. So that's what the new functionality is in 2021 R1. Now you can take it a step further, and you can set this down here to warn, and this will actually pop up a warning message when you try to create that contact. Now I also want to point out here that if you do warn, it automatically sets the score weight and checks this for us up here. If I set this back to 1 and uncheck this, and then I go down here and I set this to, let me click out, click back in, set this to warn, click off the row, you'll see it automatically sets the score weight And this is now a read-only field. I can't edit the value. This also gets checked and I can't edit the value. And if you think about it, that makes sense, because if I want to get warned, then on this field alone, then the score weight has to meet the threshold. So it's actually taking the value from here, and it has to validate it on entry, otherwise it can't warn. So it sets those things for me. Now let's check here if we need to calculate the grams. Let's go ahead and do that. Once that is finished, we can close, come back to our contacts, and now let's try creating the contact again. Use the same information. Now watch what happens this time. The contact ID before, as soon as we click save, it was getting an ID. It did the validation the last time we did this, but it was creating the record. This time when I click save, you see I still don't have a contact ID because it has not created the record yet. And now it's giving me a warning. It's telling me it found at least one duplicate. So it did that duplicate validation right here, and it's asking me, do I really want to save the record? So this is kind of nice. I can click here, no, and never even create the record, so I don't have to bother with deleting it. Maybe I don't even have delete permissions in Acumatica. So it's nice that this can now warn me right at the front when I'm creating the record. So that's back here. This feature, new in Acumatica 2021 R1.